IIT Delhi since 2000. He has visited more than 200 engineering institutions across the country to conduct workshops on virtual lab. He has presented virtual lab project at the first workshop on digital initiative in higher education, which was jointly organized by Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India, and Chancellor Secretariat Raj Bhavan, Bihar. He has successfully conducted more than 20 state-level workshops in the northern state of India. Virtual Lab is a project initiated by the Ministry of Education, Government of India, under the National Mission on Education through Information and Communication Technology. Virtual Lab has been designed to provide remote access to labs in various disciplines of science and engineering. These virtual labs cater to students of undergraduate level, postgraduate level, as well as research scholars. It enables the students to learn at their own pace and enthusiasm to conduct experiments. I am feeling proud to announce that recently IITM College of Science, Art and Commerce collaborated with the IIT Delhi regarding virtual labs. Firstly, I would like to request our director, sir, to motivate our students.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to everybody. Ravi sir, am I audible?
Haji sir.
Yes,
Audible
yes,
sir,
yes.
audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, good morning, everybody, particularly the participants for the today's workshop on virtual labs. I, on behalf of IITM Group of Institutions, welcome Engineer Prateek Sharma ji, who is a Senior Field Engineer at IIT Delhi for virtual labs, to this wonderful platform. The initiative taken by the Government of India, particularly by the Ministry of Education, in framing and starting up these virtual labs is definitely a wonderful experience. I have personally used these virtual labs and showcased many practicals to my students. The beauty of this virtual lab is that you can do the experiments while you are in the home also. Particularly in this COVID pandemic, this virtual lab has assisted and helped many of the teachers and students. Generally, what happens is when we go to the laboratories, we have to design a circuit and then we have to check for the components, for the materials, for the machines. And then we have to, in the physical world, we have to make the connections out of that. And then we have to gather the inputs and outputs, and then we make the basically the graphs. But the beauty of this virtual labs is that you don't need any component, you don't need any basically machines, you don't need any physical equipment. But at the home, you can do these experiments. Now what happens basically when we go to the industry, then industry needs some projects. And when we talk about the projects with the industries, and particularly during the interviews with the HR manager, so HR manager asks about that, what are the different practicals which you have done? Then the students tells the HR manager that I have done this practical, and this practical. And then if any HR manager discuss about the inputs and output patterns, then and how to change the input and output patterns, then the student gets stuck up midway. But if he or she, any student or teacher, have done the experiments on virtual labs, then definitely the confidence will boost up. They will know that how to change the inputs, how to change the components, and what will be the effect of changing the components on the outputs. So basically, this is the beautiful platform And I urge all my students that they must utilize these virtual lab platforms to the fullest. And it is free of cost. There is no hidden charges by using these virtual labs. All the facilities are available at the IITM Group of Institutions, and parallelly at your home also, even on your mobile, you can do the experiments. So lots and lots of good opportunities are coming nowadays for the students. But now it's a turn of the students that they must get themselves acquaintance with all such platforms. So I again wish all my students, participants, and the organizers for these students' workshops best of luck. Thank you. Thank you very much. Over to Mr. Ravi, sir.
Thank you, DG Saab, Dr. Rajesh Goyal sir, for your inspirational words. आप हमेशा सबको मोटिवेट करते रहते हैं, and it's very good for us कि बहुत सारे इवेंट्स, बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम्स कॉलेज कैंपस में होते रह रहे हैं और होने जा भी रहे हैं अंडर योर गाइडेंस. तो I'll just request Prateek sir to start the session.
Thank you, sir. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir. Your voice is audible.
Thank you. So first of all, a very good morning to all the.
I just want to acknowledge that our director sir is also there, Dr. Rajesh Goyal sir.
Yeah. Good morning, sir. How are you?
He has been using our platform also.
Good morning,
So
Prateek,
yesterday
sir.
only we were discussing कि sir हम लोग कल virtual labs IIT Delhi के साथ में एक workshop रख रहे हैं. तो he was very like he was very happy कि यार चलो तुम लोग ऐसा कर रहे हो, बहुत अच्छा है. And हमने भी पहले कर रखा हुआ और ये काफी like it will give a good opportunity for our engineering students कि वो simulations के द्वारा simulations games की तरीके से वो अपने labs को भी कर पाएंगे. तो I thought कि सर thank you, और कल जब प्रतीक जी आएंगे तो I'll request you कि आप भी उस इवेंट में रहो. प्रतीक सर like I'll just request कि जो भी अपने students जो participant हैं आज कुछ ना कुछ सीख के जाएं. After this workshop gets over, तो बच्चों के पास कुछ ना कुछ सीखने के लिए हो, कुछ ना कुछ नया देखने, कुछ ना कुछ नया समझने के लिए हो.
Sure, sir. Sure. Bilkul. Thank you so much. And also, I already know Dr. Rajesh Goyal, sir. We have already met before, and he was over there in the Global Institutes in Amritsar. And I can assure you that he's a very active participant, and he makes sure that all these activities are passed on to the students and all this valuable information reaches to the students. So you don't need to worry. I think that thing will totally be implemented. So let us begin today's session. So first of all, a very good morning to all the participants. Greetings from Virtual Labs IIT Delhi. So my name is Prateek Sharma, and today I'll tell you about this particular platform, that is Virtual Labs. Now let me tell you how this particular session will proceed. So first of all, what will happen? First of all, I'll share a small presentation. So with the help of that particular presentation, we'll understand the basic background and the features of Virtual Labs. Now after the presentation part, we'll move to the demo part. And in the demo part, we will see how, as a user, you can explore all the experiments that we have developed. So Ravi sir, just quickly confirm me. I hope you all can see my screen.
हाँ जी सर.
I hope my screen is visible. Can please anyone respond?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ravi sir, sorry for the inconvenience this side. So let me just reconnect. I'm facing a technical issue. Just give me a moment, please. Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. Let me just once again share my screen. Okay, so we were discussing about virtual labs platform. So we define virtual labs as those kind of labs which are not physically present, but they have the same characteristics and same attribute as those of physical labs. So indeed, one of the great initiative by the Ministry of Education, which was formerly known as MHRD, and this particular platform comes under the umbrella project of NMEICT, that is National Mission on Education through Information Communication Technology. Now, the question arises that why do we require this kind of platform? What is the need for it? So basically what we observed way back in 2009, we observed that and with the various professors when they visited other engineering colleges and institute, they observed the students, they were very good in theoretical knowledge, theoretical, they were very sound. But once it comes to practical knowledge, they were somewhere lagging behind. So it was thought that, okay, something needs to be done so that the practical knowledge of the users can be enhanced. And that was the moment when virtual lab was born. So you see, as a user, wherever you are located across India, you all will be having the opportunity to access to all these good quality of labs that we have developed. And as a result, I believe everyone has an equal opportunity to learn the things out. So wherever you are, all these labs, they have been developed by the prominent institutes and the IITs. So as a user, everyone is utilizing this particular platform. So even a student from IIT and even a student from other engineering institutes. So both these students are utilizing this particular platform. As a result, both of you are getting the equal opportunity and the good quality of labs to learn and enhance your practical skills. Now, if we talk about the salient features of virtual labs, the best part for virtual lab is that it is totally free to use. As a user, you do not need to pay even a single penny in order to use virtual labs. Okay, it is totally free to use. Also, these labs can be accessed at any point of time. Anywhere you can access these labs, whether it is early in the morning or late in the night hours, whenever you feel like, these labs are available for you. Now, two main points we should focus on is that developed in self-learning mode. Now, when we say that this particular platform is developed in self-learning mode, we wish to convey the idea that everything which is required by the user to learn and understand a particular concept is present over there. So in the physical lab scenario, the users, especially the students, they are more dependent upon the faculty members and the lab support staffs who tell them how these experiments need to be performed and how they need to take the observations. But this particular platform has been designed in such a way that a user can learn the things on their own without even depending upon the faculty members or the lab support staffs. Next, we have the innovative experimentations. So when we talk about the innovative experimentations, we want to say that going out of the box or trying something new. So in the physical lab scenario, there are certain constraints on the user. So as a result, the users, they cannot go out of the box, they cannot try something new. But over here on this particular platform, this virtual labs platform supports the innovative experimentations. It allows the user, it gives privilege to the user that whatever you want to do, whatever you want to perform, you can just do it on this particular platform without any worries. So till now, more than 100 virtual labs have been developed, and each virtual labs consists of at least 6 to 7 experiments. So cumulatively, you have more than 600 virtual experiments to choose from and to learn from. Moving on further, this is the motivational part. Okay, so why as a user you should be motivated to take up this particular platform? So there are three different factors for that. The very first one is the physical distances. So yes, I hope you all agree that there are certain moments in which we are unable to attend the physical lab lectures. So COVID-19 pandemic situation was a classic example where the users, they were unable to go to the physical labs, right? So what happens now when the user is unable to go to the physical lab? So there's a particular distance between the user
and the lab, right? So virtual lab, it tries to bridge that particular distance. It makes sure that the users, they sit safely at their place and virtually they are able to perform the experiments. Next, we have the sharing of costly equipments. Now, there are certain equipments which are very costly in nature. As a result, what happened in the physical lab scenarios, on a single setup, 3 to 4 users perform the experiment. But over here on this particular platform, what we have done, we have shared those equipments individually to the users. So that particular setup will be totally dedicated for them. So in whichever way they want to perform the experiments, they would be having the complete freedom. Last but not the least, we have proliferation of quality of labs. So when we talk about the proliferation, it means a regular increase in the quality of labs, right? So what you'll find once you reach onto this particular platform, that on a single concept, there might be 2 to 3 different labs developed by different institutes. So why it is happening? It is happening because as a user, you will be getting a diversified content, and that will help you to learn the things in a much more better way. Okay, for example, we would be having a common topic of say sensors. So on the topic of sensors, you'll find 2 different labs developed by different institutes, and both these labs will be consisting of different experiments. So as a user, you are getting a wide variety of experiments, and you'll be able to learn and understand the things in a better way. So these are the factors that motivate the user to take up this particular platform. Next, what you observe in front of you is the basic idea. So it is very easy to understand the basic idea behind virtual labs. So we have the virtual labs. These labs have been created and we have developed and hosted these labs on the cloud. You are the remote users. You require a system and a working internet connection. If you have these 2 things, you can easily have an access to all the virtual labs that we have developed till now. Now let us talk about the objectives of virtual labs. So when the founding stones of this particular platform were being laid, there were various objectives that were clear in the mind of the professors and developers. So what were the objectives? The very first one was to provide the remote access. So when we say to provide the remote access, we wanted that as a user, wherever you are across the country, remotely, you should be able to access the labs, especially the labs that deals with science and engineering domain. Okay, so remotely you can trigger that and you can explore the experiments. Next, we have to cater the students. Now, when we say to cater the students, again, we want to say that everything which is required by the students to learn and understand a particular experiment and a concept will be present over there. And also we cater to the various students at different levels like UG level, PG level. And yes, some of our experiments, they also cater to the research scholars. Third one, and the very interesting one, is to make sure that the students, they are able to learn at their own pace. Now, it is very important for us to understand this particular point. So what happens in the physical scenario? We have a particular time window for the physical labs. And in that particular time window, each and every user needs to perform the experiments, note down the observations, and submit their files. But what happens? Not each and everyone is able to learn and understand the experiment in that particular time window. Reason being, we have 2 categories of students, fast learners and slow learners. So the fast learners, they quickly understand everything, they note down the observations, perform the experiment, and they are good to go. But what about the slow learners? The slow learners, they require more amount of time in order to learn the things out. So what happens? Slowly and gradually, those slow learners, they try to shy away from the physical lab because they are unable to understand anything in that particular time window. So keeping this particular thing in mind, we have made sure that once the user is performing the experiment on this particular platform, there is no time boundation on the user. So as a user, you can take as much amount of time you want. There would be no time clock that would be ticking over there. There would be anyone won't be present over there to say that, okay, time's up, you need to go. Nothing like that will happen. Lastly, we say that it is a complete LMS, right? This virtual lab is a complete learning management system. Because you see, once you go over there and start performing the experiments, you'll see you have certain web resources, certain animations, self-evaluation part. So it is an interactive environment over there that will help you, and that makes this virtual labs a complete LMS. Now let us try to differentiate physical labs from the virtual labs. So we have taken certain factors. So the very first factor is of cost. So obviously, just imagine if you as a user try to set up your own physical lab. For that, you need to have a space, you need to purchase a space, you need to spend money on the purchasing of equipments and everything. But in order to use virtual labs, it is almost nil. I told you these virtual labs are totally free to use. You just require a system and a working internet connection. Next, we have the availability. So physical labs, they are not available to us every time. Again, the COVID-19 pandemic situation was a classic example, but virtual labs, 24 into 7, anytime, anywhere, you can have an access to these particular labs. Third one is the experimentation part. Now, please understand very carefully. We say that a user cannot do anything in the physical labs because there are certain constraints on the user. Now, we need to understand that why the institute have imposed those constraints. It is because the institute, they are concerned for the safety of the user as their first priority, and also they are also concerned for the safety of the equipment as their second priority. So that is why as a user you are not allowed to do everything in the physical labs. But on virtual lab, everything is designed virtually. So virtually, it gives you a safer option to innovate, to try something new, and to see the output of your curiosity. Okay, so anything can be done on the virtual labs platform. Lastly, we have the user experience. So when we talk about the user experience, we say that yes, we firmly agree that physical labs have the best user experience and virtual labs is second best. Please understand, virtual labs do not intend to replace the physical labs. Virtual labs just say that utilizing and using virtual labs prior to your physical labs will increase your efficiency in the physical lab scenario. Now, let me take an example. For example, we might have performed various chemical reactions in a physical lab. So whenever we mix the two chemicals, a particular gas is emitting out and we can smell that particular gas, right? But if you perform the same steps or if you perform the same scenario over here on the virtual labs platform, you'll observe a color change, but there would be no gas that would be emitting out and you cannot smell that particular gas. So the real-time hands-on experience which the user gain in the physical labs, nothing can beat that. Please understand that. So these were the differences between the physical labs and the virtual labs. So you will find these three different category of labs on our platform. The very first one is the modeling and simulation based labs. Now these are those kind of labs in which what we have done, we have simply created a replica of a real life process. For example, we observe color change in the acid-base titration. We observe a waveform on a CRO. So these kind of things will be observed by the user virtually on this particular platform, and these labs are termed as modeling and simulation based labs. Next, we have the measurement-based labs. Now, there are certain labs, certain experiments in which we require exact numerical observations. So those labs are termed as measurement-based labs. Third one and the very interesting one is remote triggered lab. Now, just imagine all across India, we have a particular setup that is only present in IIT Delhi. Okay, all across the India, it is a particular setup, experimental setup, and it is only present in IIT Delhi, right? So as a user, how you can have an access to that particular setup if you are sitting very far away from that? So virtual labs give you this particular privilege that we have certain remote trigger labs that can be accessed by the user in the real time with the help of webcam. They can see what is happening in the real time scenario. In the real time, they can enter their values into it, and accordingly, they can get the output. But yes, with this great advantage comes a great disadvantage. These remote trigger labs are not scalable. When I say that these labs are not scalable, I mean to say that at a single point of time, only a single user can have an access to the remote trigger labs. Whereas modeling based labs and measurement based labs, these are scalable labs, multiple users can use them simultaneously. So these are the three different category of labs that are present currently on our platform. But what we have done, so ministry, they have asked us that we want to cater a huge number of students. So right now the remote trigger labs have been temporarily pulled out and you only gonna find modeling and measurement based labs. Talking about the intended users who all can utilize this particular platform, I'll say anyone who has a will to learn. We have plethora of resources present on this particular platform, so you can simply go over there and explore the things out. Irrespective of whichever domain you are, you can have an access to all the domains and you can learn the things from the different labs that are present. Now, these are the participating institutes, right? So IIT Delhi is the main coordinating institute. Then we have the other 6 IITs and the other esteemed universities and institutes. So most of the labs that you're going to find on this particular platform have been developed by the professors and developers from these particular institutes. So you can see, so IIT Delhi is the main coordinating institute. Then you can see we have the IIT Bombay, Kanpur, we have IIT Roorkee, Guwahati. Then we have the other institutes like Amrita University, NIT Surat Kala, and so on. So what are the different domains in which virtual labs have been developed? So these are the different domains. So starting from the very basic one, we have physical sciences, chemical sciences. Going on further, we have electronics and communication, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering. And yes, we are not stopping it over here. We are trying to explore more and more new domains in which virtual labs can be developed and the user community, they can get benefit out of that. Now the question arises that how, as a user, how you can have an access to all these experiments and all these labs. So in order to access all these labs, you need to remember the URL, that is www.vlab.co.in. It is our main website. It is the only website that you need to refer. Okay, please understand and please make a note somewhere, www.vlab.co.in. I humbly request all the participants, especially the students, that please note it down somewhere, take a snap so that you remember it out. And please only refer to this particular website. Moving on further, let us now quickly try to recall what we have discussed in this particular presentation part about virtual labs. So what are the various bullet points or the various features of virtual labs, right? On-demand labs. So whenever you feel like, labs are present for you. Next, everything required to learn and understand a particular experiment is present over there at a single click. Third one, we have the self-evaluation part. So we discussed that this particular platform is developed in self-learning mode. So after each and every experiment, you would be having a set of questions and you need to answer those set of questions so that you could evaluate how much you have learned. Then we have the animations. Obviously, actions, they have a louder impact than words. That is why we have added more and more video tutorials and the animations so that the users, they can visualize the things and they can understand that. Lastly, freedom to make mistakes. As a user, you can commit any mistake on this particular platform without hurting yourself or without damaging the equipment. So these were the key points of the virtual labs which a user should remember. So in the upcoming slides, quickly we'll see the impact of the project. So please understand and please note that under the participating institute, we have the concept of nodal center. So your institute is a nodal center under IIT Delhi. Now, being a nodal center means that you are the designated and the certified users of virtual labs. Next thing, for example, after this webinar at any point of time, if you face any queries while accessing the virtual labs, you can simply put a mail to us. At the end part of this presentation, I'll share the support credentials. So as a nodal center, you have this particular privilege that you can write your queries to us and a concerned person from our end will get connected to you and will try to solve your queries. So there are other certain statistics as well, like the usages and the number of workshops that we have conducted across the nation. So certain glimpse of the workshop. So how we used to go for the workshops pre-pandemic situation. So we have added that as well. Okay. Now talking about the AICT model curriculum. So the AICT guys, they were also quite impressed once they observed our labs, and virtual labs now finds a place in the AICT model curriculum as well. So for effectiveness, again, I would request the participants, especially the students, that today I'll show you certain experiments. So I request and I hope that once the webinar is over, you will perform few experiments on your own. Because until and unless you won't perform it on your own, you won't be able to realize that how this particular platform has been built and how as a user you can take advantage out of it. So that was all the basic idea and the basic background which a user should know about virtual labs. So that have been discussed. So I told you about the support credentials. So these are the support credentials, support@vlab.co.in. So any user, you face any query at any point of time, what you can do, take a snap of the query that you are facing. Okay. Put a mail to us on support@vlab.co.in. And please do remember to put your name and your institute name over there so that we could correlate and we could connect to you shortly and try to solve your queries. So these were the support credentials. So that was the basic background about the virtual labs. Now what we'll do, we'll move to the demo part. Let me just again share my screen. Okay, let me just quickly, I hope everyone remembers the URL, that is www.vlab.co.in. Please remember that. As soon as we type this particular URL, this is our main homepage. Okay. Now let us understand this main homepage first of all. So what do we have? We have this virtual labs logo at the very top, and just adjacent to it, we have a small search engine. So as a user, if you're looking for any of the specific lab, what you can do, you can simply start typing the name of that particular lab. And if that particular lab will be present, there would be a drop-down list. And from here, you can directly jump to that particular lab. After that, we have the other options like the home, about us, ways to become a nodal center, the outreach portal, and so on. Scrolling it down further, we have the objectives and the philosophy again. Then we have the broad areas. So these are the different domains in which the virtual labs they have been developed, right? So please understand two things. The very first thing is that virtual labs covers 70%, 60 to 70% of the curriculum. Still, there's a gap area of 30 to 40%. So what I want to say that you might come across this particular scenario that any of the specific lab that you are looking for might not be present at this particular moment. Okay, so in that particular case, you need to wait. Because we, the virtual labs team, our development team is already working on to that, and we are trying to fill the gap areas. That is the first thing. Next thing is that today I won't be able to show you every experiment. So what I'll do, I'll show you the variety of experiments that we have, and as a user, what are the different steps that you need to take care, that will also be demonstrated by me, right? So please understand that not each and every experiment cannot be demonstrated due to the certain time constraint, but yes, I will try to make sure that the wide variety of experiments that we have, I will demonstrate that so that you could understand that how these labs can be explored and utilized. Say, for example, we wish to explore the labs from the chemical sciences domain. Okay, so what you need to do, simply click on the chemical sciences domain. So after you clicked on the chemical sciences domain, we have the labs ready for use. You can just see there are different labs over there, right? So for example, we have this inorganic chemistry lab. A name of a lab is there, and just corresponding to it is the name of the participating institute which has developed it. So this inorganic chemistry lab is developed by Amrita Vishwavidya Peetham. And also, if you observe, just below the inorganic chemistry lab, we have two options: reference book and syllabus mapping. So reference book will tell you of which book a user should refer to if they want to go for the more in-depth knowledge about the lab. And syllabus mapping will tell you of which all different universities the syllabus has been covered. So let me simply click on the inorganic chemistry lab. And once I click on the inorganic chemistry lab, I would be having the list of experiments in front of me. There you go. So now we have the list of experiments in front of us. So you can see there are different experiments. So you can just go through it. For example, we have water analysis, then we have acid-base titration, group theory, crystal field theory. So we'll begin with the acid-base titration. So simply click on the acid-base titration. So once you click on the acid-base titration, you have a complete learning system. So please understand that why we are saying it is a complete learning system, because of the various tabs that are present over here. So the very first tab is a theory tab. So theory tab consists of the objective, that what is the objective behind performing this experiment, and all the basic prerequisite concepts a user should know. So those things have also been mentioned over here, right? So as a user, if you do not have any idea about acid-base titration, not an issue. You can simply refer to the theory tab, and you can quickly recall all the basic concepts about this particular experiment. So after theory part, you need to go for the procedure part. So in the procedure part, what we have done, we have mentioned certain steps which a user they need to take and perform onto the simulator window. You can see there are certain steps that have been mentioned. And also you see we have also mentioned certain points which a user should remember if they are performing the same experiment in the real laboratory. So when we say the real laboratory, we want to say that the physical labs. So theory is done, procedure is done. Now, before going for self-evaluation, you should come to the simulator part. So as soon as you click on the simulator part, you see you get a message over here. It says that please sign in to view the content. Okay. So please understand, certain of the labs, they will ask you to sign in to view the content. I repeat, only certain of the labs will ask you to sign in. And also remember that IIT Delhi will not give you any special login IDs for that. So how you can log in and what is the way further? Let us see. So what you'll do, you simply click on the login part. And once you clicked on the login part, come to your right hand side, and over here you can see create an account option is there. So the best part is that I would recommend what you do, simply go for the create an account part. And once you click on the create an account part, please register yourself and make sure that you have registered for all the labs for the Amrita University, right? So you would enter your details over here, and then you'll click on the register part. So then you would be registered. Then what you need to do with the credentials that you have registered, simply enter those credentials over here, right? So simply enter over here and then click on the login option. So after that, you can see the simulator window is there. Let me just maximize it. So if you carefully observe, the same setup is also observed by the users in the physical lab scenario. So this verifies our definition of virtual labs, that whatever you observe in the physical lab, same thing will be observed by the user over here as well, right? So this is the setup that we have. Now just imagine, as a user, you are still confused and you are still not clear with the steps that you need to perform over here. In that particular scenario, what you need to do, we have a help button over here. Simply tap on that. And once you tap on that, we have the list of steps have been mentioned over here. So you need to simply click on the next, next, next. So all the steps that a user they need to follow they have been clearly mentioned. So I told you, developed in self-learning mode. So at each and every point of time, this particular platform will help you. Now we have these variables. Now what you need to do as a user, simply go for the very first variable, for example, titrant, click on the titrant. You have a drop down list, and from this particular drop down list, you can select any of the titrant that you want. Next, we have the speed of titrant. So you see, we have a numerical value over here. So you want to increase it. We have a slider, simply click and take it to the maximum value. So the speed of the titrant can again be modified. Third one is the titrate. Again, click on that. You have a drop down list, select the titrate. Similarly, change the value for normality and the volume. Okay, so you see the whatever the slider value is showing you, the same numerical value is being entered into here. Then we have the indicators. So you can see we have 3 indicators currently. So simply select, I'll go with phenolphthalein part, and simply click on the start option. So you see the drops, the titrant, it is now coming out. Now just observe over here, you'll observe a color change. Just simply focus over here. There you go. Did you observe? Okay. Did you observe? I hope everyone have observed that yes, there's a color change, or we can say we have reached to the end point. So please see. So what we observed a color change. So we discussed, try recalling the particular definition of modeling based labs, that whatever you think, the things you see in your real life, in your physical lab, same thing is observed by the user over here as well. Okay. And also you're getting the exact numerical values over here. For example, if you go for the result part, so in the result part, you're getting the exact numerical value about how much titrant have been used. So I hope you have seen the formula N1 V1 is equal to N2 V2 under the procedure part. So you have the numerical values, you have observed the endpoint, you can put these numerical values and you can calculate the observations. Okay. Now you can simply go for the reset part and just take different titrants, different titrate, and just make sure that you modify the normalities and the volumes, and then accordingly you can see and perform the experiment. So this is how this acid-base titration experiment can be performed. So once you have performed the experiment, what is the next step you need to do? Then you need to go for the self-evaluation part. So in the self-evaluation part, you see we have certain set of questions. So what you need to do as a user, you need to make sure that you simply answer these set of questions. For example, I'm just answering the very first question, right? And I'll scroll it down and click on the submit button. So if my answer would be correct, I would be welcomed by a green tick. If not, I'll get a red cross. So these questions again will help you to understand that how much you have understood after performing the experiment, right? Then at the end part, we have the other options like the assignment, where we have a certain set of questions given over here. Then we have the references part, again, certain name of the books and certain web links they have been mentioned. And lastly, we have the feedback. Please understand, each and every lab which are present over here on this particular platform will follow the same template. So when I say same template, I mean to say that every lab and every experiment will consist of this theory part, procedure part, self-evaluation, simulator, assignment, and so on, right? So please remember that. And also in this particular lab, what we need to do, we need to sign in, and I have shown you and I have told you the way by which you can register yourself, and you can simply sign in and utilize the simulator. So once you have performed the simulator, please remember that you log out from this particular simulator page, and also you close this particular tab. Because if you go for this particular home option over here, what will happen? You will be redirected to the labs developed only by Amrita University, and you will miss out on the larger bouquet. So please remember, once you are done with the experiment, simply close the tab, right? Again, simply close the tab over here. Now over here, under the heading of labs ready for use, so we are back over here, and the home option present over here can be utilized by the user to reach to our main home page. Okay, so let me show you one more experiment, then we'll proceed to the different domain. Say for example, now earlier we have seen a lab by the Amrita University, and now let us see one of the labs by IIT Hyderabad. So the lab is Colloid and Surface Chemistry lab. Simply click on that. So you see, what do we have? We have introduction, objective, list of experiments, and so on. So we'll directly go for the list of experiments. And I'll go with a very basic one, preparation of souls. So I hope now as a user, you are very well aware about the importance of each and every tab. Okay. So I will not explain this again. I will directly take you to the simulation. Did you observe? There was no login required over here. We simply click on that simulation part. There was no login required, and we are able to see the simulation right in front of us. So what we need to do, we simply need to follow the messages that are being told to us, okay, that are present over there on the screen. For example, it says click on the beaker to pour water. Simply click on that, and accordingly you need to follow all these steps. So all what is happening has been told to the user with the help of this message box, and all these things you need to perform. And this is how this experiment will be performed. Please understand, this is purely modeling based, because you are not entering any numerical values or anything like that. What you are doing, you are simply following the steps by clicking onto the various equipments. So this is how this particular experiment can be performed by the user. So you see, so whatever steps that you need to perform, they are being told to you at the top part, okay, with the help of this message box. There you go. Click on that. And then finally, you see, you have obtained the solutions, right? Then again, what you can do, you can go for the reset part, and again, you can start from the scratch. Just remember, done with the experiment, close the particular tab. So what we did, we just see that how this colloid and surface chemistry lab can also be performed. So the majority of lab in the physical sciences and the chemical sciences are the labs developed by the Amrita University and the IIT Hyderabad. And I have taken the example from both of these labs from both of these institutes, so that you could understand that how these labs can be used by the users. Now let me come back to the main homepage. So similarly, you can also go for the physical sciences lab. I will not explain, not perform right now, but I will tell you that these are the different labs that we have present. And also, if you scroll it down, you can see we even have this heading of upcoming labs. Now, under each and every domain, we have two headings: labs ready for use, that these labs are ready and you can utilize this particular labs. And then we have the upcoming labs. So over here are the new labs that are going to arrive shortly. But yes, as a user, you have the privilege that you can still have an access and you can still explore this particular lab, right? So let me go back to the main homepage. So we have done the lab from the basic one, chemical sciences and the physical sciences. Now, for example, let us see one more lab from the different domains that are left. So let us go for the electronics and communication domain. Again, over here, we have the list of experiments. And under this, let me show you one of the new labs, say digital electronics lab by IIT Roorkee. Tap on that, then we have the list of experiments and simply select the experiment, right? Now you have two more things over here. If you carefully observe, you have pre-test and you have post-test. So please understand, these two tests are different, because pre-test will consist of questions that as a user, you need to answer correctly before going for the simulation part. If you are able to answer this particular questions present in the pre-test correctly, it means that yes, you are eligible and you can fully utilize the simulator part. And post-test means that certain set of questions that you should be able to answer once you have performed the simulator. So let us directly go for the simulation part. And basically, we are trying to verify the logic gates over here. And let us go with the very basic one, AND gate. Now you see we have this particular complete setup over here. Now again, you are not confirmed and you are not sure what are the different steps that you need to perform. Not worry, we told you it is developed in self-learning mode. So we have the options of instructions over here. Click on that. So you can see all these instructions have been told to the user. So I told you it is kind of an interactive environment. At any point of time you face any queries, do not worry. Just simply explore the options that you are seeing on the simulator page and you will be able to perform the simulator hassle-free, right? So what we need to do, simply first of all, we need to click on the battery. The battery is connected. Simply turn the switch on. Okay, so we have these two inputs. We have this input A, input B, and this is our output, that is the LED. And we are verifying the AND logic gate over here, right? So input A is turned as high. So 1, 0, the output still comes out to be 0. And if I turn this input B is also high, so 1, 1, you see the LED has now glowed. It is now glowing. It means the output is high. So with this, you can, in a very short span of time and quickly, you can just quickly recall about the logic gates. Okay. So that was the first part of the simulator. We even have the second part of the simulator. Now in this, what you can utilize, this can be utilized even by the faculty members or by the users to just quickly check themselves. So you can enter the values in the input, two inputs that we have, input A, input B, and then you can simply check the output. So if you enter the incorrect value, so you'll see under the truth table part, it will tell you that the output that you have entered is incorrect. In the remarks, you can see that. And if you just modify it again, when you click on the check part, it says you the correct value. So this is how the values can be taken, and this is how and you can also print this particular truth table over here. Okay. Then after that, if you need to go back, simply go over here to the very topmost left corner, and then you can go for the post test, pre-test, and so on, and then close the tab. So we discussed about the proliferation part, right? So just observe, we have this Digital Electronics Lab 1 by IIT Roorkee. Also, we have Digital Electronics Lab 2 by IIT Guwahati. So what is happening? The concept is same, but you will get a diversified content. For example, in this one, you simply clicked on the battery, you turned the inputs high and low, and you were able to see the output. But in this particular lab, Digital Electronics Lab 2 by IIT Guwahati, in this one, what will happen? You will be given a breadboard, you will be given the ICs, you need to place the ICs on the breadboard, need to make the connections, and then you need to verify the logic gates. Okay, again, if you carefully observe, no login was required in this particular experiment also. So I have reached back to my main home page. Now let us go for this computer science and engineering domain. So again, we have the list of experiments. Oh, in this one, I'll show you one of the new upcoming labs that is the Python programming lab, which is developed by IIT Kanpur. So simply click on the Python programming lab, and let us go for say list of experiments over here. And let us say, try to just go for the arithmetic operations. Okay. So you can see now what I'll do, I'll directly come to the simulation part. Now, if you observe this simulator part, this simulator page is divided into three different parts. Okay. So the very first one is the problem. The next one is the step execute. And the third one is the result. So if you go for this problem part, you can select it, the arithmetic operators, because what this is the aim, why we are performing the experiment. I hope you remember, right? So for example, let us say I select this addition part. And after that, I need to initialize the two numbers. Say let the first number be 23 and the next one be 14. And then I'll press on the start option. Now, now you observe, as soon as I click on the start option, so the complete Python code is being mentioned over there under the step execute part. Okay, so also what I'll do, as soon as I click on this next part, next option over here, you'll see a particular line would be highlighted, and it will tell the user that, look, according to this particular step, this is the change that is happening in the output. Let us see. I simply tap on the next part. So you can see the first line has been highlighted, and it is telling the user, see, due to this particular step, this is the change which is happening in the under the result part. Similarly, we go for the next, and accordingly, we'll see the output. Okay. So this is how the output will be observed, right? So what is happening? So as a user, you'll be able to correlate that, okay, according to this particular step, this is the change that is happening in the output, and so on. So it is one of the very basic experiment for the Python programming, but my main idea is to make sure that you understand that how this particular simulator has been developed and how as a user you can perform the experiments on this particular simulator, right? So after clicking on the next, at last it says that program completed. If you're going to go back, simply you can utilize the option over there at the topmost left corner. Okay, you have three lines over here. Simply tap on that. You can go back to the theory part, pre-test part, procedure, post-test, and so on. For example, if you go for the post-test part, so certain questions they have been mentioned, and as a user, you need to select the options and answer them. And also you can have a look to the procedure part. You see, in the procedure part, we have told you each and everything. Then you can also go for the references and so on. So that was one of the Python programming lab, a new upcoming lab developed by IIT Kanpur in the from the domain of computer science and engineering. Similarly, we have many more labs. For example, if you want to go for the C or C++, we have this problem solving lab. Then you want to go further, then we have this computer programming lab as well. And you want to learn more about this computer architecture and all, then we have this computer organization lab. So all these labs can be explored in a similar fashion, which I have shown you, right? Also, please remember, just in case if any other external software would be required in order to use this particular virtual labs platform or these experiments. So a free downloadable link will be present over there under the simulator tab. For example, you might have this query, what if any other software is required by the user? So if there would be any software required by the user, so we would be giving you a free downloadable link over there in the simulator part. Okay. So let me scroll up and come back to the main homepage. So we observed a few labs from the chemical sciences domain, one from the electronics, the CSE. Now let us see about the electrical engineering as well. And in this one, I will show you a lab with the video tutorial. Okay, so we'll go with this sensors modeling and simulation lab. Now we'll go for the list of experiments and we'll go with the very first one, characterize the temperature sensor, the RTD. Again, you can see you have all the same things that you are observing in each and every lab. I'll directly take you to the audio video part. So this lab consists of a video tutorial. Okay, and with the help of this video tutorial, you can learn the things and learn the steps that you need to perform onto the simulator part. So let me just play the video. So you see, with the help of this video, we are telling you that, look, this is what you're gonna find. You are gonna find onto the simulator part, and this is how you're gonna follow the steps, and this is how you need to take the observations and complete your experiment. Okay. So you see, in certain of the videos, we also have added this video tutorial. So where the users, if they are unable to understand with the help of theoretical text, they can refer to this video tutorials part, and they can make sure that they learn and understand that how this particular experiment can be performed. Right. So just in case, to make sure that everyone believes me that whatever this video is showing, that is absolutely correct, let me just take you to the simulator part, just to verify that we are seeing the same setups in the video as well as in the simulator. So there you go. So I hope you have now verified that this complete same setup was observed by us in the video as well as over here onto the simulator part. Okay. So utilize that particular video, make sure that you listen to that particular video, you will quickly understand, and then you can come back and perform the experiment over here onto this simulator. Right. So that was the basic example for the video tutorial labs in the electrical engineering domain. Then you even have the lab for the PLCs, and again you have electrical machines lab and so on. Just one thing, please remember, a student from electrical or electronics communication, they should utilize both these domains. Okay, there might be a scenario, for example, a EC student is unable to find a lab in the EC domain, so they should also explore the electrical domain. So now let us say also observe one of the lab from the mechanical engineering domain. So we have various different labs in the mechanical engineering domain, like we have the robotics lab as well, developed by IIT Kharagpur. Then we have this metal forming lab by the Albag Institute. So let me go for this metal forming lab. Now what do we see over here? We have this home part over here. We have the motivation and the basic background and the theoretical text about this metal forming. Then we have the equipments. We have upsetting presses and the extrusion presses. Then comes the main part, processes. So there are various processes that we need to learn and we need to understand in the metal forming part. Okay. So let us take an example of extrusion and let us understand about the extrusion. Simply click on the extrusion part. So what do we have? We have a video at the very top, and just below it, we have a complete description. Okay. So what is happening with the help of video? You can again refer to the video and you can listen to the things out, and then you can refer to the theory part. So all the basic prerequisite knowledge about this extrusion process have been clearly explained, right? Then after that, we have the simulation bench. Let me go for simulation bench for aluminium. And as soon as I click on simulation bench for aluminium, so I have this predefined set of parameters. So what you need to do, you need to simply select these parameters, and then you need to click on the submit part. So according to these parameters, there would be a video. Just click on the submit part. There you go. You have a video. Let me just play it out. So please understand, especially the students, sometimes the students, they are unable to understand the things which their faculty members try to draw on the board with the help of the chalk and all, right? So but if the faculty members, they will play this kind of small animations and simulations, so these simulations will have an impact on the students mind, and they will be able to learn and understand a particular concept much more easily. Okay, similarly we have the simulation pair for titanium as well. Next, we have this comparative simulations. Click on the comparative simulations. So what happens? We have these three different cases. So what will happen? Simultaneously, two simulations will be running out. And as a user, you will be able to see and you'll be able to mark the differences between those two simulations that are going on. Then we have the best part, the applications. See, everyone tends to write the applications in the theoretical questions. But if you ask them that, can you explain me that this extrusion process is helpful in making a gall stick, but can you explain me how? Can you explain me and explain in detail about each and every step, then in that particular case, the user, they won't be able to give an answer. So that is why we have added this applications part as well in this particular lab. So if you go for the gall stick, you'll see again you have the simulation or the video, you can say. So we are explaining the user each and everything step by step, that how this extrusion process is helpful and is utilized in making a gall stick. So that is shown to the user. Okay. Then at last we have the special cases. We have 11 different special cases. So in this, what do we have different? We have this different shapes of mandrel, so that are not available to us in the physical lab scenario. So we have these different shapes. So these that is why we have termed them as special cases. And again, with the help of the simulation, you as the user, you can utilize them. Lastly, you have the self-check quiz. Again, set of questions are there. You need to answer these set of questions. Okay. So this is how we have other different labs. For example, you want to learn about 3D scanning or 3D printing. You have fabrication labs. You want to learn about the vibrations and the natural frequencies. You have vibration and acoustics lab over here. Going on further, you have this lab on the robotics as well, as we discussed earlier. So all these labs can be explored. Just remember the various methodologies and the various steps that I am performing right now, and you need to remember those particular steps. Now coming back to the main homepage, and at last, let us see one of the labs from the civil engineering domain as well. So in the civil engineering domain, we have this new lab, transportation engineering lab, which is developed by NITK Surathkal. So what I've done, I've shown you the different labs from the different institutes, how their user interface is different, and what are the various steps and what are the various additional features that you can find. All these things have been explained. So now go for the list of experiments, and let us go for this impact test on aggregate. And now let me take you to the procedure part. Now, what we have done in this particular lab, we have taken the snapshots from the simulator, and then we have put those snapshots in the procedure part, and we have highlighted the main key points over there. You can see. So these same things again, you will be observed by the user onto the simulator. Okay, I'm just scrolling it down. So this is how all these things, all the steps, they have been explained, and this is how you need to make the need to perform the experiment. Let me just show it to you. Go for the simulator part. So there you go. Let's go for the next part. You see again, it is developed in self-funding mode. So you got getting an arrow. You need to click over here, tap on that, follow the steps. And also please remember, all these values that we are getting over here, these values we are getting under the ideal situations, because in the real time, in the physical scenario, there are many factors that affect our observations. Okay, so please understand that. And this is how this particular experiment can also be performed on the civil engineering part. So that is how most of these labs can be performed. Now I have come back to our main homepage. And just one more important thing. Earlier, our labs were developed using the Adobe Flash Player. Okay, they were very much dependent upon the Adobe Flash Player. But currently, the Flash Player is not supported by any of the browsers. And yes, what we have done, we have removed the dependency of our labs, but still there are certain labs and certain experiments that still require the Flash Player in order to utilize them. So for those particular lab and for those specific experiments only, what you can do, how as a user you can utilize them, for that you need to have this particular virtual box downloaded in your machine. And how this virtual box can be downloaded, what are the different steps that you need to perform, that thing will be made available to you on the main homepage, that is vlab.co.in, under the announcement tab. So there you have this complete hyperlink document. Okay, simply tap on that, a new page will open, and you need to follow all the free downloadable links, and everything has been given over here, right? So you simply need to read it out, and then you can download that virtual box. Please remember, it is only for those specific experiments and those specific labs that still require the flash player in order to run and in order to operate. Okay, it is only for those experiments. Rest all experiments can be utilized easily by going on to our main website, and which I have discussed. Then at last we have the quick links part. So in the quick links we have the two options, the lab feedback form and the lab assessment form. So you can go for the lab assessment form and you can give ratings to our labs. For example, if you feel that yes, this particular lab can be improved more, new content can be added, things like this, so you can give your valuable feedbacks to us. And according to your feedbacks, we'll make sure that if a valuable feedback is coming to us regularly, we'll try to implement that particular feedback over here onto this particular lab. Okay, so lastly we have this supported credentials over here. As I told you earlier, support@vlab.co.in. You face any queries, you can simply put a mail to us on this particular email ID. So that was the basic idea about virtual labs and what are the different steps that you need to perform while utilizing the virtual labs that have also been discussed. So that was all from my end. Now, if you as a user have any queries, I would be very happy to answer that. Any queries by anyone, please let me know.
Thank you, Pratik sir, for giving us information of virtual lab and encouraging our students. It will definitely motivate our students and enhance their knowledge. I would like to thank our director sir and our guest of honor, Mr. Pratik Sharma, and principal of IITM College of Science, Art and Commerce, Dr. Preeti Pahuja ma'am, and all the faculty members and our students. And I would also like to thank our principal of IITM College, Dr. Rajiv Dhaya. And I would like to thank all the faculty members and our students to join with us.
Right, ji, Poonam ma'am, shall we end this session from our side? Pratik sir?
Yes, sir.
किसी को कोई क्वेरी हो, कुछ पूछना हो तो यू कैन प्लीज लाइक फिर हम लोग सेशन क्लोज करेंगे. चलो ठीक है जी, तो विल एंड आवर सेशन हियर ओनली. थैंक यू प्रतीक सर फॉर लाइक sharing your views on entire virtual labs, and thank you principal ma'am Dr. Preeti Pahuja ma'am, the principal of IITM College of Science, Art and Commerce, Dr. Rajiv Daya ji, principal of International Institute of Technology and Management, our Dr. Saab, Dr. Jamal Saab, for his encouraging words. Thank you Pratik sir to be here with us at IITM. I hope and I request be at our campus as soon as possible, क्योंकि virtually तो हम लोग कर रहे हैं, पर it would be very great कि हम लोग इसको कैंपस में आके हम लोग इस तरीके के virtual labs को हम लोग workshops organize करें. Look forward to it कि आप जल्दी हमारे campus में आए.
Sure, sir, sure.
Pratik, I have a query.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we do on this molecular dynamics simulation also in quantum science?
Ma'am, your voice is very much echoing.
Okay, just a minute. Hello, is it audible now?
Yeah, please tell me.
Okay. I am just asking, can we do the molecular dynamics simulation on this also? Like in chemistry, we do most of simulation. In like we predict the HOMO and LUMO in quantum studies.
Okay, so the one question I can get is what you need to do in order to see that whether you can perform that or not. So for that, you need to go for the various list of experiments and the labs that are present. And if you find that particular experiment available on this, then you can perform it out. And if you want to give your feedbacks, for example, if there's a simulator, but that is not allowing you to make certain changes or something like that, in that case as well, you can provide your feedback to us.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
Prateek.
Yeah. So I think with this, we have reached to the end of the session. I would like to thank everyone for giving your time and listening to us. Thank you, everyone. I hope everyone remains safe and healthy at their place. Thank you, Ravi sir. Thank you, Director sir. Thank you, everyone.
अपने भी क्या